All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. I'm your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you for locking in, whether you're watching this on the video side, which if you are, maybe you're doing that live because we are doing this live on a Monday night. For most of you, though, this will be in your audio feeds on Tuesday morning. Hopefully you find it. I appreciate you all. I'm joined for my weekly visit. I don't like to say a specific date anymore because we kind of do these all different times. But my man, Tone Pucks, dude, what's going on?
What's up, man? I want to start right there. I want to start with, the flexibility of, of our get-togethers. I'm enjoying the post game stuff. I think you're one of the few dudes who, can really be counted on. Jason's rather dashing, man. Look at Jason. Jason looking good, man. Happy New Year. Yeah, I like I like our time slot right after the game. There aren't a whole lot of people doing that, and certainly not with some of the embellished reactions that you and I have. But I got to tell you, when it's not the game or whatever, or just as we look at the week ahead, I wouldn't mind a 2024 that sees us plot the ideal day for our get together, because I love tonight, man. I love tonight. If we
Tonight being Monday night for people.
Tonight be Monday night. And I'm not a big promoter of the show by any stretch of the imagination. I've got 7 non-bot followers and whatnot, but if we would have put a little something into tonight, I think it's the perfect night to catch us on the video side. And I like it for the morning too, man, because, we're diving in. Well, first of all, we can't get trumped by news that happens before, before you post the show or something like that, or right around the time you post the show, or people would listen to it. So that's big. Tuesday likely to be a quiet day at One Bills Drive. So I like this slot right here. I'd like to be able to look at the week ahead and pick slots where we work best. That's what I want. That's what I want out of you for 2024.
Let me tell you something. You're lucky that I'm even alive and awake right now on a Monday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Why is that, Pat?
I don't know, but doing this show is making me sound like a much bigger drinker than I really am, because it seems like every time I get together with you,
it's not making you seem that. It's making you realize you are that.
I mean, to be fair, so yesterday was New Year's Eve, and the Bills obviously played, and we're going to talk plenty of Bills for everybody out there who's watching and listening. We're going to get to that in just
but no fucking Sabres whatsoever, because I hate them.
I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. I told you this earlier. We talked for a few minutes anyway before we went live here. I forgot the Sabres even played on Sunday. But anyway, so the Bills played. I did a quick instant reaction post-game solo and got that wrapped up. And then a bunch of people came over the house. My wife and I hosted a New Year's Eve gathering.
No invite for Tone Pucks, by the way.
Yeah, no invite.
No invite for Tone Pucks.
Sorry, buddy. But so yeah, we had like 20 people in the house at least. And I don't know what the hell I'm even talking about here.
Because you tied one on and you're fucking dying right now.
I tied one on. I still, for all the maturity,
struggling.
For all the, the maturity that I like to think that I've had and getting older and being smarter and wiser. I don't drink often, but I just don't have that stop button when it comes to doing shots, quite frankly. I could sit there and drink pints of beer or cans of beer all day and night, and I'm perfectly fine, man. Perfectly fine. I could do it, and I could even mix in a shooter or two. I just don't know how to turn it off. I get to a point, and it's like, what is this? The lights are on and nobody's home. That's like my brain after about 3 or 4 shots. If I get past that point, there's no stopping me.
That doesn't sound problematic at all, bro. Let me tell you something. I lived in that fucking reality for like 20 plus years. All right. I mean, granted, my
I'm not making fun or light of it.
My desire. I know. I don't care if you did. my desire to reach that next level probably far supersedes, yours. And, for as good of a 99 percentile of drivers that I think I am, I also probably found myself in the 99 percentile of people who had no idea, all right, when to hit that stop button when tying one on. But I think it's funny because, when I, as far as, friends of the show are concerned, I would imagine that when I announced that I had made my return to, the world of moderate drinking, my guess would be that, following 10 years of accumulated sober wisdom. Let's not forget those 10 years. That's what I'm calling it. 10 years of accumulated sober wisdom.
Sure.
But I think most people would think that after foregoing those 10 years, which obviously were prompted by some need to, I think people probably thought that the one out of the two of us who would most quickly be in line for an intervention would be me.
Sure. It's not funny, but
it's
the
presentation.
presentation.
The tables have turned, my friend. All right, and I'm feeling like maybe, just maybe, you could use a chat from some loved ones, and we'll also throw in people who aren't afraid to tell you like it is. All right, Mike B's coming. Mike B's coming, and he's gonna call you a fucking idiot and all those things.
We're gonna talk about him specifically.
He's basically gonna be like every single Sopranos character in Christopher's Intervention. That's how Mike's gonna fucking roll. That was
one of my favorite TV scenes of that entire series, man. God, it was just beautiful. Absolutely amazing. I want to throw out a couple comments here live. Ranger Corpse. By the way, shout out to Ranger. Ranger is one of the owners of the cereal spot on Elmwood Avenue. Sweet. I've never been there yet. I got to get there, man. I told him, we're going to hit it.
We're hitting it.
I talked to him before. He's a regular at Imperial. That's why his comment is you don't drink often, ? Not as much as you, buddy. But anyway, I want to get up there and we're going to do a show with him. And then Jason says, I hope you got to enjoy your son's 21st. I know you were sick and trying to recover. Yeah, I was fine, and it was fun. We went to Vinny's in West Seneca, had a couple happy 21st beers. But
that's the thing, bringing up your son. That's the thing that actually, I'm being sarcastic when it comes to, the need for an intervention. But what you're really dealing with now is you went through a period of time, okay, where, you still had the day-to-day parental duties. And, not that you were really going out of your way, to be responsible, but you were tied up with them. You know what I mean? You were tied up with them. Yeah. Shane ain't really requiring that sort of attention anymore.
Right.
All right. Which gives you free time to, reindulge in some past transgressions. And what's happening right now is you're realizing that you're just too fucking old for that shit, bro. All right.
Yeah.
I
am.
You know what I mean? Like you're trying to get back. You're trying to get back in the game at like what? Your mid-50s?
Early,
mid-50s?
Man. Relax there. early, man.
And it just, it takes like me trying to raise kids in my early 50s. I'm exhausted, man. I ain't got
Saturdays is my Saturdays. Well, this was actually Sunday, but it was a holiday. But Saturdays is my let loose kind of day, man. I work all week long. I have a part-time job 3 nights a week. Do the show 5 days a week. Saturday's like my one day where I like to unwind and kind of get after. But again, it's not the drinking. It's just drinking too damn much. Anyway, I'm looking at some of these comments that are rolling in there. My buddy Anthony, who was at the party last night, by the way, and it's kind of his fault. He's back in Texas. He lives in Texas, but he's the one that got me going a little bit overboard on the shots. I'm gonna throw at least 6% of the blame his way. And by the way, a friend of mine, Shannon, who was also at my party last night, just checking in to see if there's any mustache yet. Some context on that real quick. I think I might have told you about this. I know I've mentioned it once or twice on the show, but I had a weight loss bet last month with my son, and I had until his birthday, I had to lose 10 pounds. And had I lost 10 pounds, his debt was going to be, he had to do the
I
level
remember.
5 spray tan.
I
He would have
remember.
looked orange as shit. Mine was, if I lost, I can't shave for at least 5 straight weeks, which I lost the bet. And today's day 1 because it started on New Year's. So no facial hair yet, but it's not gonna be pretty either, man.
It's not gonna be pretty at all. I think it's questionable as to whether or not you follow through with it.
I'm going to.
You know,
it's because it's him. If it was my wife or it was one of my friends, I would welch on the bet 10 out of 10 times. But because
5 weeks no shave, huh?
5 weeks no shave.
Bro,
well, I mean, I get like edge, little areas certain up, but I can't, my mustache, my patchy beard, which is going to look hideous. Probably
you're going to lolook whack. I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't. I tried once in Florida. I tried really hard to grow a beard.
How well did you do in the weight loss contest?
I lost 4.8 pounds in the first 2 weeks. Which was pretty much just water weight. That goes when you try. And then I started drinking pop again because I haven't been drinking pop for months. And once I started drinking pop again, that just leads to wanting to eat more, I think. And plus being an Imperial as much as I am, eating the pizza and the wings and all and the fingers and all that shit. And then I just said, fuck it. I realized I was going to lose the bet and shit just got. Anyway, long story short, on his birthday, I went and I lost 1.2 pounds. So I didn't even not even in the same stratosphere.
What Shane lose?
Of winning the bet. Shane didn't have to lose anything. The bet was that I couldn't lose.
Oh, couldn't lose what exactly?
I couldn't. 10 pounds.
Oh, you had to.
I had to lose 10 pounds, and I had about 6 weeks to do it. It was very attainable.
How the fuck did this guy get wide open?
Talking about Michigan. We got Michigan and Alabama going on in the background here. All right. So listen, before we get to some football, you came over, you saw Christmas is over here in the Moran house. Like literally, I had a New Year's Eve party last night. The tree was up, all the decorations are up. Once I got up at 1 o'clock, which is funny because I usually have to hunt you down for this show. And then I have to worry about when you're going to text me back and if I need to go to try to get somebody else, as a backup plan when I'm supposed to have you on. It's usually that way. But today was the opposite. Like you actually texted me. I didn't know when I first answered the phone, which again, I'm going to tell you, I didn't even wake up until 1 o'clock. And didn't know if I was going to be able to do the show. That's how shitty and hungover I felt.
That's today. How certain I was at that point. Well, I don't know what it was. It was like around noon or something. That's how sure I was at noon. All right, that I would need some sort of reprieve from my children by 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I told Erin that too. I said because she said you're gonna have a live show or Tony's coming over on New Year's night. I was like, dude. Tony's getting away from his kids for a couple.
So I mean, I'm excited. I mean, they go back tomorrow, but today was the end of a long road. It was the end of a long road with them boys on vacation. Look at them
having a coughing attack. I'm trying to just drink so much juice. One thing I will say though about, and then we're gonna get to some football. A little technically, this is football.
Oh, that's got to be 15. I think you called that. Sorry, go.
I won my first fantasy football championship.
Hey, look at you.
I'm coughing now. I can't.
All right. Well, fuck, I'll say shit. All right. So here's the guy who just said, all right, that he's gonna that this will be the last hangover of 2024. First and last hangover is about to win 12 bottles of liquor or some shit from his fantasy football championship.
Yeah, so, that's not going to help. But speaking of resolutions, by the way, I do want to ask you that. Do you have any? It is the first day of 2024, and it's always about New Year's resolutions. Do you have any?
No, I don't. I saw. I saw you were gonna ask that. I knew I was gonna bust your balls about drinking and stuff like that, so that it wouldn't really be necessary for me to, spend a lot of time on New Year's resolutions, which is good because I don't have any. I mean, look, if going back to smoking might have been the stupidest thing I ever did. If I could get out of 2024, not smoking, that would be wonderful. But I'm more someone who looks at the big body of things, looks at the year as a whole and says, this is what I would like to do.
Sure.
Within the year or whatever, more so than I'm going to stop or start doing this immediately on January 1st. I don't have that sort of discipline.
All right, fair enough. All right, you ready to talk some Bills here?
I don't know. What about you? I guess, do I have to ask you back or something? Yeah. Did you say that you do anything?
It's the basic shit. I just want to take better care of myself physically,
okay. All right.
Lose some weight, yada, cut down the drinking, blah, blah, blah. Nobody gives a shit. A lot of people give a shit about the Bills, though. It was another stressful game. One that's just kind of weird. It's like the first, 6-7 minutes of the game. It felt like a whole game's worth of shit happened in the first half of the first quarter. It was just wild. But what I'm buying in right now, and I want to start here too. I'm buying in on the Buffalo Bills today, right now, because for all the energy and the focus that we spend week after week after week talking about Josh Allen, talking about Brady, and talking about McDermott in this offense, this defense is starting to show me that it is championship caliber, potential championship caliber defense. And it got Daquan Jones back. I thought that was a big lift right away. They did not play Von Miller, and we'll talk about him specifically in a few minutes. But I don't know. Let's start there. Your thoughts on this defense? I mean, New England's no offensive juggernaut, but no, they won the game. They don't win the game if it's not for the defense. 4 turnovers in the first part of the first half, a pick 6. It's just a defense that, I mean, they did it against the Chargers too. They won the game, I thought, and I thought they won the game again today. So, or yesterday, I should say. I feel like the Bills potentially, if they get in the playoffs, could go far because of this defense above all else. What are you laughing at?
I feel like you just went like 30 seconds longer than you were gonna, because every time you went to kind of open the door to me, you noticed that I'm looking up at the game.
Yeah, you're right. I'm about to turn shit off.
No, man.
There's not
real quick. I got plenty to say. I got plenty to say about the defense, but real quick, Harbaugh gets the score here. Does he go for 2? Does he go Dan Campbell and go for the win? No. I agree. I don't think he would either. I was like, let's be honest, man. There's something about defensive football that just gets the blood.
I'm afraid to take a drink in this and have another coughing attack right now.
Why is it just been your drinks going down the wrong? Yeah, I know it's juice. I'm just saying, they've been good?
Yeah, that last one went down the wrong
hatch.
Went down the wrong hatch.
Leave Jason's comment up there. I've got a stain on my shirt, like right here, and I
no. But go ahead. Get to the defense.
If anybody sees the stain, let me know. I'm interested to know if it's showing. I was pumped. All right. It was the sort of defensive football that just gets you out of your seat, man. It was splash play after splash play. And as much as we love offense, as much as the NFL builds itself around benefiting the offense, when you get a defensive splash play, because the percentages are far lower that you're going to see it on defense than you would, a big gain or even a long touchdown on offense. There's just something about that defensive play that gets the place jumping, man. And when Douglas scored the touchdown, look, I don't have a household that's going to get it. Even O'Sherry, who gets football, and even out on the opening kickoff was like, oh my God, how does that? It's just like she got that. The extent of the play that Douglas made, and that being kind of the icing on the cake of a first half that was just out of this world. I wasn't going to be able to really share in that moment that much. I was flying solo in that moment for the most part, but man, oh man, did I celebrate that moment. All right. I mean, my celebration of Douglas's first half and culminating in the touchdown was possibly as hyped as I've been, for a play in a Bills game this year. It was stupid. And I'm going to take it a step further. I think at the end of the day, it falls harmlessly to the turf. But I'm not sure if on his deflected interception to Ed Oliver that he doesn't plant his foot in the ground and find a way to dive underneath that football if Oliver's not there. So like Oliver being there, kind of, he was definitely had the best look at it.
Sure.
So Douglas kind of, he's not going head to head with his teammate for a football. But and again, I'm low percentages here. I get
Sure.
it. I'm not saying he would have, but man, if you happen to catch that play again, ask yourself, man, could he have gotten to that and had a third interception and just the stupidest first half of defensive football for anyone in the secondary? I mean, I can't remember the exact game. It may have even been a high stakes championship game against the Rams, but one of the most dominant secondary performances I remember ever seeing was Brian Dawkins. I mean, it's impossible to overstate.
Sure, he's going to win defensive player of the week.
How good his half of football was, man. It was fucking bananas.
It was. It really was. I got to give props to my wife. We're watching the game, and she said the Bills are going to score a defensive touchdown, and
that's a good call. That's a good call.
And externally, I'm okay. Internally, I'm rolling my eyes like whatever. And I swear to you, within 5 minutes of that statement, it happened. It was the possession before she said that. And then on the next possession, Rasul Douglas.
I would like it if you texted me when she says shit like that. And it's not because I really want to, bank on it, but that level of juju, you know what I mean? Is the more juju I get from people in their belief that something, is about to pop off in a game or even pregame, I'm going to bet it. I'm going to bet it. So
she doesn't like watching games with either of us, by the way.
You get really? What does she say about me?
With negative energy.
Oh, the negative energy.
I have no question about it.
Oh, okay.
Like I said,
you know what? I feel better that it's negative energy more so than the things that I offer in terms of actual gameplay. That would bother me. Not bother me. I don't give a fuck, but I would feel bad.
Sure.
If it's what I bring to the table in terms of what I might see, in terms of X's, O's, and of course officials. But if it's just my negative energy, I'm not turning that off for anybody. So I could care less.
Can I ask you a question that might come off as controversial or even?
Has anyone commented on my stain or no?
No, nobody's. I don't even see your stain.
Really?
No. Maybe a little bit. Anyway.
Is anyone commenting at all? Is anybody there?
No. I want to ask you a question, and it might be controversial to some, or some people might, not like it, but I think it's a fair question. At least I do anyway. Terrible to see Trey White get hurt, and I was sick for him, and I still am, because he's a great player and a good human being, and he's worked so hard.
Pandering Pat.
No.
I need to be pragmatic here. Look at who you're talking to.
I'm prefacing it by putting that out there so other people don't think that I'm some hater on Trey White. I'm not whatsoever. I thought he was playing pretty well.
Everyone's about to get pragmatic on Trey.
If Trey White doesn't get hurt, the Bills are not trading for Rasul Douglas. That's what I'm telling you.
Absolutely not.
And if that doesn't happen, are the Bills better off?
Yes.
Because Trey White got hurt. As unfortunate as it is to the human and to the football player, but this defense, is it better off because Trey got hurt, knowing that they would not have traded for Rasul Douglas otherwise?
Sure. Yes. I haven't seen this level of Trey or this level of play out of Trey maybe ever. All right. Just the ball hawking. I also think that, that Trey's reputation might work against him because he doesn't get a ton of balls thrown his way.
Sure.
And I don't think teams were necessarily ready to give Rasul Douglas. Oh my God, this guy's in trouble. Wow.
Dude, nobody's watching that. Nobody cares.
Sorry. I mean, you'll see the play. It's a muffed punt and a big moment for referees in the Michigan Alabama game. I don't think Trey gets tested as much as people have tested Douglas, not because it's Douglas, but because I don't think they went into the game saying, this guy may cover our, a certain side of the field. I don't think anybody really gave him much mind in that regard over Christian Benford. All right. Whereas peak Trey would get that respect. Hey, we might have half the football field shut down from us. Nobody's going in saying that that might happen in the case of Rasul Douglas. So that may have given him more opportunities to validate the point that you're saying.
Sure.
But the point that you're making, bro, it just can't be denied. He's been so huge. It's a terrific job of identifying somebody who is just the perfect fit, not to mention the extra year next year at only 9.
He might get an extension.
Of course, it's a superb job by the front office. And I don't say Bean because I don't believe it's just Bean. If you think Sean McDermott didn't have a say in, the cornerbacks out there who fit his scheme best, you're crazy. All right. McDermott's in on those decisions. He's part of what I would consider to be the front office, and they hit a fucking home run on Rasul Douglas.
They sure did. Jason says, by the stain, do you mean the words Ganesha's?
That's good, man. That's fucking really good, bro. That's good shit.
They'll go Wolverines in the over. So I guess, all right, so I lied. I guess there actually is one person who
Wolves in the over. He's got
watching us and watching this game.
He's got to look at it.
Watching this game.
Look at this muff, my God.
So the Bills are up 20-7 after the pick 6. And the last thing I expected was to have to sweat out a second half. But this offense just can't seem to get out of its own way. It's its own worst enemy at times. But before we even get to that, the other big significant story I thought, besides DaQuan Jones returning, I mean, that was obviously huge as well. But, we spent a considerable amount of time on our live show last Thursday at Imperial Pizza talking about Von Miller and his role on this football team. And you know what? I've been wrong more than I've been right all season long. And I did make a fair case that you've probably been right more than you've been wrong. But this is one that I was spot on with. I said it's over for Von Miller, man. He's 11 games in. He's doing nothing.
Oh,
he's dogging it at times.
Following Eric Washington's comments,
right?
I don't think, even though you are right in what you're saying that he's toast right now as far as helping the ball club. But following Eric Washington's comments, I don't think you exactly felt like you were about to see a fucking healthy scratch.
I
mean, Washington's comments.
I thought the comments were bullshit. I don't believe coaches.
All right, I'll give it to you then.
Wednesday coaches is just coach speak, man. Every player on your team is progressing the way you want them to.
They're
improving.
They put Von, but they gave him a vote of confidence, put him in front of the mic, and then sat his ass.
Yeah.
That shit was weird.
It was weird. But it was the right move.
Yes.
It was the right move. He's not helping this football team.
I mean,
and you said there's the fourth defensive end or whatever, but every rep he is out there, there's somebody, he's not going to make a play.
I get it.
There's someone else out there that might make a play. I probably one of the biggest roars I had that entire game, and it was early on. Kingsland Jonathan made a tackle in the backfield, and I was screaming at my TV, Vaughn ain't doing that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do you think, his barring injuries, this is the last you've seen of Von Miller in a Bills uniform for this year, if not his career?
Not sure that I'm ready to take that leap. Not going to be, questioning it should he not come back. Like, I'm not calling for Von to be dressed. Okay. I'm not saying, I'll walk back the comments from last week where I was like, he's a better fourth. I don't fucking know if he's a better fourth. I'm just the eye test guy. All right. And it wasn't really passing that. I was strictly going off of what Washington said, and which was, Bill's defensive line coach, Eric Washington, which was, we feel as though he still has that pedigree that could show itself at any time. I'm paraphrasing. He said
he's earned leeway.
I'm paraphrasing.
Well, I'm not. He said he's earned some leeway.
You're right. You're not. So look, I built that take off of Washington's comments. Don't have any problem being wrong. Don't have any problem with Von Miller's career as a Bill being over. I'm just not going to rule out that it was something kind of funky where they just didn't like the way he practiced this week. Maybe they thought they would send a message like, we will sit you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right. Or, he showed up to the stadium drunk. I don't know. That's probably the least likely of the three. I'm not ruling out the idea that they could put Von Miller back on the field.
Okay, that's fair. And for what it's worth, by the way, Tim Graham had reported Sunday morning for team sources that Von Miller did not have an injury setback or it wasn't any legal stuff like that. It was just purely a coach's decision. It is weird after talking him up some on Wednesday, having him speak to the media and to the public for the first time since the arrest, and then to have him sit. Sunday was the first time where I thought, even if he doesn't get suspended, which let's all be real about this shit, I think the Bills hope he gets suspended, because if he does, then they can get out of millions of dollars of guaranteed money. But even if he doesn't, I think Sunday was the first time where I said he could get cut this offseason. And you're talking $32 million in dead cap. But if you cut him June 1st, you could at least split that off. It's like 14 and then 17 over the course of 2 years. That's still a shitload of cap money.
I did a hardcore spot track today on the throne, as they as we call it, without being gross. Nah, man, I was checking out some spot track today for. I'll say this much: this year the Buffalo Bills have like $10 million in dead cap, and I think in the years preceding this, it was probably somewhere around the same. I think next year's dead cap is going to double that at the very least. I think next year will be the first year where the Bills' dead cap becomes a major issue, because quite frankly, all right, there are still savings to be had even with the dead. As an example, Trey owed 16, dead's 10. Still might be worth the 6.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Mitch Morris owed 11, dead's like 3. I think we all like Mitch Morris, but we really invested in Bates. Are we ready to maybe save that 8? So point being that dead doesn't necessarily mean that that we didn't ultimately get a financial win from the decision. And I think in lieu of that, I would expect to see the most significant amount of dead in that Bills cap that we've seen in the McBean era.
It's crazy too, is if he does get suspended for conduct and the Bills could get out of that guaranteed money, they could take that money and you could re-sign AJ Epinesa and Leonard Floyd for what they would otherwise be paying Von Miller.
Yeah, also, you just totally left out Daquan Jones.
Daquan Jones is their top priority this offseason. He's to me, there's unrestricted free agents that matter. AJ Epinesa is a name. Gabe Davis is a name. But Daquan Jones, to me, you get him back on a 2-year contract.
Is he getting away with?
He's 32 though. He's not,
I look at certain top 50s right now and stuff like that.
His defense is different. His defense,
but man, oh man,
he's a difference maker, and not just statistically, just his presence.
It's
all this
sweet
bullshit that I thought Eric Washington said about Von Miller helping other players look better.
Oh, that's a mask and a score.
Daquan Jones literally makes that difference. I am convinced that you think people are having a Michigan fucking Alabama
I've said this
watch along.
I've said this to you before. All right. Even for the people listening on the audio side on Tuesday, I think it's fun when the people doing the podcast or whatever,
live reactions.
All right. I think live reactions are super fun to hear, and you kind of try to match up the play to the reaction and
I don't
stuff
think
like
anyone
that.
except you and that dude Bill really care about this game. I'm just saying. Anyway, yeah, Daquan Jones is priority 1 free agent. He has to be, man. This defense is just different with him, and I thought you saw it this week. I think you'll definitely see it in Miami. And then another roster move that I found interesting, not obviously as big as Von Miller, but Laval Joseph getting scratched for Poona Ford. Poona Ford, who had done nothing most of this season and was inactive for a lot of the season, played against the Chargers, and I thought he played pretty well. And credit to Sean McDermott. I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately, but credit to Sean McDermott. kept him in the lineup. He kind of rewarded him for a productive
Exactly what he
Chargers
did.
game.
It's exactly
and
what
sat Laval Joseph. I thought I like that.
It's exactly what he did. It's exactly what he did. I can't remember who pointed it out today on Twitter when asked that. It might have been Joe B.
Oh, someone pointed that out. I thought I was coming up with that originally.
Yeah, it's original if you didn't see somebody point it out, but I think somebody, it may have even been man. It might have even been the 10 question asked Joe B after the inactives come out on Sunday. But it definitely was brought up, and the response by the beat person, whoever it may have been, was, I think it's a reward for last week, and I'm cool with that.
I want to take a quick 5-second break on the video side, a little bit longer on the audio, but on the video side, we'll be back literally in 5 seconds, and we'll continue this conversation and talk a little bit about Miami Dolphins as well. All right, I'm back here with Tone Pucks. A couple more Bills things, both from the game and for the season. I saw a tweet the Bills PR put out on Monday, and I didn't realize, I knew he was playing good, but statistically, Terrell Bernard, he is the first linebacker in the NFL since 1991 to have at least 6 interceptions, 6 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles in the same season. And I quote tweeted that and said, I'm not sure I've been more wrong about a player than I have been about Terrell Bernard. And I'm sure I have. Greg Thompson, some others pointed out, I've had way worse, takes than what I thought of Terrell Bernard before the season. But anyway, what a I don't want to say it's not a rookie, but his first year as a starter, what a pleasant and one of the most surprising in a good way developments of this season for the Buffalo Bills has been the play of Terrell Bernard. Worth pointing out too that most of this without Matt Milano next to him. So I mean, can't say enough good things about Terrell Bernard, who had 2 sacks, by the way, against New England on Sunday. This kid has just been really good, man.
Well, the 2 sacks is, I think, what really catapulted him in that, in that rarefied air that the Bills PR pointed out today, because you just don't get a ton of those from, inside linebackers, and it's the 6 sacks. I mean, being up to 6 sacks.
Yeah, for a middle linebacker, that's a lot.
Yeah, and even if you want to say, okay, well, outside linebackers, what did they do in that regard? Well, the outside linebackers, they're not getting the picks, right? So, what he's doing, the cumulative of his takeaways is rare. It's very rare. It's an incredible year. And it's a great talking point for, let's hope not Sunday night into Monday, because it could be over.
It's crazy to think.
It's super crazy to talk about, which is really what we need to fucking get to as quickly as possible, because who cares? You talk about people not caring about this Michigan fucking Alabama game. People don't give a shit about New England, when this thing launches.
Sure.
But when we're ready to start talking about positional battles, who comes back, who signed, re-signed, whatever, Bernard, Milano, and an expiring Dotson with a 3rd rounder and Williams sitting there is going to be an interesting conversation. Ultimately, I think the Bills probably just let Dotson hit, free agency, somebody overpays him, maybe you score a comp from it. But man, Dotson's been nice. And he's up.
He's been better than I expected. I'll say that much. And then the last thing from this game that does need to be discussed is Josh Allen. It's just, the Bills got away with it. I mean, Josh Allen was hard on himself too after the game, as he should be, because he was not good against the Patriots. Some of it's not all him. Like the line, especially early on, the interior of the offensive line was just getting murdered by the New England pass rush. Just seems like receivers aren't getting open. I don't know if that's a receiver speed route running thing. I don't know if that's a Joe Brady scheme thing. So it's not like he's got a lot of wide open windows to throw. but he missed on some throws, man. That 91-yarder to Diggs, that should have been 6. That changes the,
that's a
what?
a lot of air miles on that throw.
And
Boy.
so
That
what?
a
It was
long
still,
fucking
it was
throw.
open. You got to hit that throw.
Bro, I'm just going to be honest with you. I might be the least worried person about this game by Josh Allen. Is it anyone,
Not the game,
anyone
just
in Buffalo?
Josh Allen, though.
I get it.
You're not worried about him at all.
I'm going to separate, Josh Allen and my concerns for the offense. Okay. I think that the offense was out of sync, and that worries me because they've been out of sync a lot this year.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time this year that I've looked at Josh Allen's play and said, Jesus, that was just a fucking bad football game. Now I know that's going to sound a little hypocritical or just false, if nothing else, because I think after the Jacksonville game, we both agreed that Josh didn't play great, stuff like that. And that's true. There are some games this year that I look back on and I'm like, Josh wasn't very good. But this is really the only one where I thought he just laid an egg.
Sure.
And I'm just not thinking it's going to last more than a single game. Now, the offensive inefficiency, which might lend itself to, some misplays by Josh, that definitely is an issue. But Josh just looking like fucking garbage and going 2 of 11. Look, you're talking to one of the most negative dudes, all right, who on a podcast here. That shit ain't happening Sunday.
I'll tell you this much. I feel confident in Josh Allen, if for no other reason, then I just think there's a handful of teams where Josh has patterns. I think he struggles a lot against the Jets, the Bengals. Bill Belichick does a pretty good job, minus that playoff game where he was unstoppable. But, he does at least a reasonably good job of shutting down Josh to an extent. Conversely, I always feel confident when the Bills play the Chiefs, and I always feel confident when the Bills play the Dolphins, because Josh Allen, is not being a super homer fan here or anything, but I'm just stating facts. Josh Allen owns the Miami Dolphins. He plays really, really good against Miami all the time.
Well, let's get to it, man. All right. I'm right there with you. You know what? I don't get as hung up on how well he plays against certain teams, but I'm right there with you in my belief that the Buffalo Bills are putting the quite a bit better football team on the field Sunday.
Their favorite too.
I know. Yeah, I mean, and it went quick. It got from 2 to 3 real quick.
You go. Michigan.
This game's
won.
over.
All right, now no one have to talk about Michigan.
On a run.
All right, Michigan 27.
Hey, Michigan in the over guy. Way to get that in overtime.
Did he hit the over there?
Yeah, he did. I think it was like 43 or some shit. Bro, it's just too scary when it could be losing. You're done.
Sure,
it's just too
sure.
Let's
talk about Miami though.
Just too scary. Think about this before we talk about Miami. How insane, all right, were the ebbs and flows of this football season? All right, it went from the
opener right from week 1, losing to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
right in week 1, it started right away.
Jacksonville for me was the tipping point where I was out
because of the injuries.
I was out on it. Yeah, I was out on the potential for a championship season, and then little by little, it started to build back up. But I'll even go as recent as last week, and I think I'm kind of taking it in the opposite direction. I felt like we were almost playing with house money last week, like we were gonna beat New England, all right, and still find our way into the playoffs at 10-7, if that's the way it went. And then everyone was kind of fixated on the Dolphins results, but not everything, because Cincy lost, and that was big because Cleveland's going to sit guys too. But 75% of the wild card shit went badly for the Bills.
Wild card wise, yes.
So terrible. I go from like last week when we're at Imperial, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm in playoffs are a foregone conclusion mode. We're either the 6 or the 2. and then it
Yeah.
and then it flipped on me again. And then so I, certainly there's the ebbs and flows of the early season, the Brady move, things like that. But even in the last week, I went from we're getting in with 10,
Sure.
and then now it's like we may not. And we've said this at one point during the season, we didn't stay on it long. I think it only lasted a week, but there was one point in the season where we said, how crazy is it going to be if it comes down to win the last game of the season and you win the division, or lose it and you're out? But what we didn't do in that was win the last game of the season and you're the 2 seed,
Sure,
lose and you're out. When we were saying that the last game of the season could be for the division or a playoff miss, all right, I think we were still probably more. I don't think we were contemplating the 2. Maybe we should have been. Maybe we should have had the foresight to contemplate the 2 in that scenario. But the 2 makes it even that much more fucking insane. Makes the stakes that much more insane for the Bills with a potential 2 seed versus go home.
yeah.
Banana land, bro. Banana land.
I think you said ebbs and flows, man. And I'm thinking about so many of the down parts of the season. Like I said, week
Will
one,
Ferrell
right
meme.
week 1 right away. The London game where the Milano, and we thought DaQuan Jones was down for the year. Trey White, obviously, the week before that. The losing at New England, which was just humiliating. Losing against Denver, which pissed me off, and that still is the game that I keep going back to time and time again that I just can't get past, because the game was literally over with 0 seconds on the clock. And then again, you watched it here with me and our buddy Jason that day. The Eagles lost and they're 6-6. All those bad things, and now the Bills have an opportunity to control their own destiny, win a football game that they're favored to on the road, but still in prime time, and they're the number 2 seed in the AFC East. If you said last week, you thought the playoffs were a foregone conclusion. If I would have told you after that Philly game that the Bills are going to be the 2 seed, you would have thought we were out of our goddamn minds. Crazy. So yeah, this just really has been the ebbs and flows. And look, Miami is physically, I mean, the Bills are playing them at the most opportune time.
Dude, the Bills are putting the better football team on the field.
I think they're a better
Sunday
team.
night.
I think their 1-53 is better than Miami's to begin with. But now you look at Miami. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL very late in that Baltimore game. They were up 30 points, and you're still playing Bradley Chubb. A little bit questionable. That'd be like having Ed Oliver or Greg Rizzo out there when you're up 30 or down 30 with 3 minutes left. I'd be losing my shit at Sean McDermott if that was the Bills. But anyway, Bradley Chubb tore his ACL. Xavier Howard hurt his foot. He might not be done for the season, but he's not playing this week. McDaniel pretty much already said that on Monday. And then, of course, you got Jalen Waddle with a high ankle sprain. He didn't play against Baltimore, so the injury is significant because they wanted that game. He may or may not play, but he's not going to be 100% if he does. I mean, it's a toughest injury for a receiver to come back from. So Raheem Mostert didn't play. A good running back, man. Yeah, you're just playing a team that physically is kind of decimated. And obviously, this is, you're not going to get sympathy from Buffalo fans of anybody else.
What? Well, they're just showing an overhead view of it. He's got to pop it outside right there. You know what I mean? He tripped. He tripped over his lineman. Wow. Hey, if anybody's got to play in the Washington, Texas game that they really like, man, let me know. I'm in. Come on. Post it too, man. Post it, because I don't read this shit over here. So when somebody,
dude, if you keep mentioning Michigan and Alabama, I'm just gonna pivot and talk Sabres for the rest of this podcast. I'm warning you now.
So. All right. All right, fine. He's still the boss.
Bat says Bills know Miami's defense they have for years, even with newly signed players like Ramsey, playing simple Josh Casito. Yeah, look, man, Josh Allen is just historically played pretty well.
Give her credit for the apple emoji.
I guess
it said Ramsey and
Eli Apple. I didn't get the apple emoji at first. Good call there. Good.
I know my shit.
Good comment, Beth. Yeah, and by the way, there was never a doubt that this was going to be a Sunday night game.
Well, what about that for
do you like it being a Sunday night game?
Love it. What about for a quick minute though when Spencer Brown referred to a Saturday night game in the locker room when he was at his stall? Yeah, somebody posted that Spencer Brown felt fairly confident that it was a
I hate having to wait all day. I hate having to wait all day on Sunday. But what I do like is that they're going to know where they stand before they take the field. Like Pittsburgh plays on Saturday, and they're playing.
I had no idea there were Saturdays. To tell
Saturday,
you the truth, man, I didn't know there were Saturday games.
John Harbaugh, I should say, said Monday he's not sure if Lamar Jackson's going to play. I don't see him playing. It'd be stupid to play him. But I do think they're rivals. I'm sure they would relish an opportunity to knock them out of the playoffs. They're not going to not try to win the football game. They're not going to risk their best players to injury, though. But that's not to say Pittsburgh, who's no powerhouse, and I think the game's in Baltimore. I'm almost positive it's in Baltimore. So backups are not. They're a good football team. That's not a lock. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would not bet against Pittsburgh. They got more to play for. And
if I was 100% sure, all right, that John Harbaugh wasn't at least somewhat cognizant of his result potentially letting the second best team in his conference into the playoffs, I would feel very good about the Baltimore backups beating Pittsburgh. And let's be honest, when we say the Baltimore backups beating Pittsburgh, I don't want to say it starts and ends, but it certainly starts with the quarterback. Sure. All right. I think they have a quarterback who can beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if you figure Beckham to sit, Zay Flowers limited, stuff like that. I think the Ravens backups can beat the Steelers, but somewhere in the back of his head, man, I think Harbaugh's gonna create a game script that winning and losing doesn't really fucking matter to him. I would never go as far as to say that a coach, would position his team to lose a football game. But it's out there. It's out there. It's not nothing when people say, man, do you think John Harbaugh wants the Bills in the AFC playoffs this year?
Yeah, it's fair.
It's something.
It's fair. For me, the game that realistically has a better chance of working out in Buffalo's favor is Jacksonville, who's not played good football at all for a while now, going to Tennessee.
I'd feel better if Tennessee would have showed up against Houston this week, not because I gave a shit about the result, but because, it would help me to somewhat believe that Tennessee's not mailing it in. I need Tennessee not to mail it in. Like, I'd rather see Will Levi than Ryan Tannehill. But do they want to protect, a potential starter for next year? Is that potential? I haven't watched them close enough or know where they're drafting to say this. Is Will Levi the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans next year?
I don't know. I don't know if they're committed to him. I don't follow them enough. All right, that's fair. I think they
still may choose not to play him for the sake of not getting him hurt. And in that case, do we get a Ryan Tannehill who's, trying to get one last contract? Not a big one, but at least it might even not be one, trying to stay in the league. He'll stay in the league, right? Ryan Tannehill will be a backup somewhere next year. He's not worried about staying in the league, even if he lays an egg against Jacksonville. But do we get a Ryan Tannehill who's out there competing with something to prove? Or do we get what Tennessee looked to be giving this past week, and that's a no-show against Houston, putting up 3 points.
That game's Sunday at 1:00, by the way. So at the latest 4:15, the Bills are going to know by the latest 4:15 Sunday in advance of their game if they're in the playoffs already or if they have to go out.
I like that. I think me personally, I could use the 4 hours to decompress
Sure.
from getting all fucking aggravated over what happened
How
at 1
much of a
o'clock,
difference?
probably.
No, look, I know it's a pretty easy answer, but how much of a difference is your viewing experience going to be if you already know the Bills are in the playoffs, as opposed to like what's your anger level going to be compared to if they lose or out? You know, like will you be more relaxed watching the game? I feel like I'm going to say I'm going to be, and it will stay in the back of my mind, but I don't think I'm going to be any less frustrated or angry if the Bills go out there and lay an egg and get beat.
Let me tell you, you know, and I like to think.
So by the way, they could play Miami 2 straight weeks if they get in.
I like to think that this is, you know, kind of one of the things that endears people to Tone Pucks. I don't know what kind of Tone Pucks you're going to get from one day to the next, brother.
That's fair, man.
I don't know what the fuck you're going to get. But first of all, you know, it starts with where I'm watching it. You know what I mean? It starts with where I'm watching it. I do think there'll be less stress if they're getting in, you know, if they've clinched, you know, there'll be less stress. Now there's less stress.
Roy Collins. I think I've used my anger quota for the year on the Bills. I haven't. I still got some left, man.
Is he a Sabre fan? Because of Roy. I mean,
yeah, there'll be less. You're right. There will be less stress.
Those motherfuckers piss me off more than
it's different when you know you're going to live to fight another day, for sure.
Yeah, man, definitely.
But for people who want to know, by the way, if the Bills win the game, they finish as the 2 seed, they're almost certainly going to play either Pittsburgh, Houston, or Indy in Buffalo in round 1. If they lose, I mean, they could lose and be out, then this is a pointless conversation. But if they lose, but they still get in, which would mean either Pittsburgh lost or Jacksonville lost, they would either be the 6 or the 7. If they're the 6, they're definitely going to be going to Kansas City. If they're the 7, they would be staying, well, not staying in Miami because they go back home, but they will be playing again the following week in Miami if they're the 7th. And I think the math said probability-wise, there'd be a better chance that the Bills, if they get in the playoffs, would be the 7 and not the 6. If they lose, but still get in, which again, if they lose, that means Miami's the 2, so they would be playing Miami again the following week.
Well, what's your thoughts on the Mafia's representation in Miami? Like, I think,
it's impressive.
I think, it's impressive. Yes, I get that, but I think I think we're struggling to infiltrate their stadium this week. I think if you would know because fucking they all follow you and you pander to all of them while you sit there and don't fucking answer a single one of your friends on Twitter. All right, Jenny from the Babes gets everything answered. I don't know if there's a Jenny from the Babes, and it's no disrespect to the Mafia Babes. All I'm saying is Pat Highhand some of his friends to communicate with, like, you know, the fans. Anyway, so you would know if a lot of them are going.
I don't know that a lot are.
I think we're going to struggle to infiltrate their stadium this week, but I think
it won't be typical.
The minute some shit goes on sale Monday morning, if by chance it's us returning to Miami the following week,
sure,
then I think we end up fucking running. You know, unless their season ticket base, you know, just doesn't allow the availability. I think we show up in bigger numbers for the playoff game than we do this one, just because from what I gather, from what I'm hearing, you know, in my very limited
sources. You got sources?
I do not have sources. I'm just saying from what I see. Look, you always see people talking about heading to Miami for games because Twitter now feeds you what they think you want to hear, not just your because I actually stay on there more. This is a great question, completely off the top.
There's a great
Bills,
question on
but
this
I'm
comment,
curious.
but go ahead, ask it, because then I got one. Jason had a good question. I'm going to ask you after. You didn't see it. Go ahead.
All right, what's the percent that you spend on the For You section of Twitter versus true
timeline following? If I'm on my phone, it's always on For You.
Okay.
If I'm on my computer, which is pretty much all day, it's on following. So it's most recent. But like at night in bed or on the living room or whatever, I got my phone. Like if I were to open up my Twitter right now, it would be on For You. That's a really weird question.
Well, it came to mind because the reason
I don't hate it.
no, I'm on For You a lot myself. I'm on For You a lot.
I am right now.
And I get a boatload of, Bills fandom, even though I really, really don't care for about 50% of them. I get a ton, and it doesn't seem like there's mass numbers heading to Miami. What's Jason's question?
All right, well, let me get a comment. Tom Watson said, Vaughn going to see the field this week. I think we both agree. Absolutely not.
Vaughn, take where whoever. Take where we are right now in the feed, rewind about 15 minutes, and that's where I'm at on it. I think it's possible it could have been a kick in the ass.
Yeah.
Possible.
I think there's no chance that he plays this game or again this season unless somebody gets hurt. I think they're done with him for this year. Beth pointed out half of Miami residents are Buffalo retirees, just saying Miami is like homegrown number 2.
I don't think those numbers are completely accurate, but I get what you're saying, Beth.
Well, as somebody who lived in Florida for 5.5 years, I will tell you this: Tampa and Miami, the fandom is different, dude. It is. I'm telling you, they don't care on the same. There are some fans, and you see a lot of them on Twitter, Miami fans.
Don't forget dude's question.
I'm going to get to his question.
Right,
I'm just letting you know, man. I'm just telling you. You said that these tickets won't be as easily attainable. Maybe they won't be quite as.
Eric Wood said they're at $8 to open up the week on Ticketmaster Pro.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
They'll
be attainable.
Be tough.
It's not going to be like, say, Kansas City. If you go to like Kansas City, Cincinnati, those fans are strong, man, and they're not going to give up their tickets. I'm telling you, Florida fans will give up their tickets. It might not be a typical, it's not going to be like when the Bills went to Washington and seemed like there were more Bills fans in the stadium than Washington, or sometimes in Miami, but they will be represented pretty well. Jason, this was the question here. He said, hot take: I am more comfortable with this game being in Miami than if it was in Buffalo. Give me perfect conditions and us versus them. Joe Buffalo Wins would say this often on this podcast, that he did not think that home field advantage for the Buffalo Bills with this football team and Josh Allen in the elements in the winter is that much of a home advantage. He said you'd rather play a team on the road in the dome or nice weather. Do you agree with that? Like, let's just say Sunday it's supposed to be shitty and snowing out. Would you rather have Orchard Park, all your fans, but really shitty, cold elements, snowing, potentially wind? Or would you rather go to Hard Rock Stadium with your quarterback in this offense where there's going to be more Miami fans for sure, but there's not going to be any weather issues at all? What do you think is more important when you look at Josh Allen in this offense? That's a good question, Jason, or it was a take from him, but I kind of turned it into a question.
I don't mean to diminish the take or the opinion, or make it sound like like I'm being a dick. All right.
Sure.
But I'm gonna say without fail, 100 out of 100 times, I want the game in my stadium.
That's fair. I could get behind that, although weather could be a factor for a Bills team. But I will tell you this: the fact that they're more committed to try to run the football, I think helps them playing in this weather, as opposed to maybe the last couple of years where the running game's been kind of non-existent. I would rather play in Orchard Park too. But if they got to go on the road, I think Miami's the perfect place to play. I just think they're a better football team. We said this after the Miami game in week 4. I remember that show very well. And that was when you gave Brandon Beane his flowers. We said that literally that day for constructing a roster that was better than the Miami Dolphins. And then they go to London and they fucking suck the next week.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing my ass off because if you thought Pat was getting pissed over me watching too much Michigan, Alabama, if I fucking get lost in Washington, Texas,
in the first,
my man's gonna be heated.
I already turned off. Turned off remote.
That's it. Like, I looked up at that game for a minute.
Like a minute into the
and
game,
I was like, yo, he is not. He dealt with Michigan and Alabama, but he is not dealing with me losing track of what we're talking about over Washington and Texas. That was fucking funny, man. I started laughing. As soon as I looked up at that shit, I started laughing. I like the conversation, and look, man, I think everything lines up really well for the Buffalo Bills this week. I would just,
If
I
they,
would,
it doesn't because they might
I,
not be in the playoffs. That aside,
I
It-
just mean in terms of their game against
Sure.
Miami, right? They have, you know, a team that's beaten up right now, things like that. You know, I like the way a lot of this lines up for the Bills. I just wish it was here.
no, well, it's not. So
Word.
I just my hunch is the Bill. I just because I cannot fathom coming on the show with you, say Monday next week, and talking about a team that's not in the playoffs. I don't feel like I'm ready to accept that as a potential reality, even if it is.
No, we give a fuck whether you're ready or not.
Oh, I
Dude.
know.
I mean, it's just it's got the potential to happen. And look, for us negative fans, I got a cousin in Florida right now who I love to death. He's as big a Bills fan as any of us. But you know, the minute the minute New England rattles off like a 12-yard run between the tackles, my man hits me with the text of "Here it comes," here it comes, you know. And look, I am probably going to have a hard time shaking the years of heartbreak when it comes to that if that football game is a winning you're the 2 seed, losing you go home kind of football game, man. I'm gonna be all fucked up.
If the Bills lose and miss the playoffs, where would this have you thought about where this might rank in your frustrating seasons? Like, is this, to me, not making the playoffs would be more frustrating than the beating they took at home against Cincinnati in the playoffs last year? Because I feel like this is a team that if they can get in the playoffs, can win the Super Bowl.
Well, because it's truly not as sudden as we might, you know, say that it is, because, you know, last week we felt good or something like that. It's truly not that sudden or on it. We prepared ourselves emotionally. All right.
I did until,
you know,
I
to
did.
some extent, we prepared ourselves emotionally. I think we'll be able to take it on. I also think we'll be able to accept it a little bit, because we can easily write it off as just being a week or two too late on an OC. It's going to be gutting. All right. It's going to be gutting because of what the flip side is, you know, home until the AFC Championship and possibly home for it. You know, the stakes are just crazy because of what it could mean with a win. So it's gonna rank up there. I'll tell you where I wasn't really thinking about where the devastation would lie. On my way in, I was thinking about where I would put this game in terms of biggest games in Buffalo Bill history, because I think it truly,
this is up there.
Despite I'm not talking just regular season, man. Despite the idea that playoffs are always you know, losing you go home sort of games, I think this game still trumps playoff games. I really do. I think this game still, the importance of this game still trumps some playoff games through the years, because of the wild swing in the potential results, swing in the results. So I do believe that, and because it's Miami, and you know, and because it's Miami, yeah, man, I don't know if anyone really has the time to delve into it where it belongs, but this week's game does belong in the conversation that includes the playoffs of the biggest in the history of this franchise.
You know, I thought you talked about preparing emotionally or whatever. After the Philly game, I thought the season was over. They lose at Denver, they lose at Philly. Should have never lost either of those games. They lose them both. And I'm like, the season's over. But then after they beat Kansas City and Dallas back to back, I never thought there would be a scenario where the Bills did not make the playoffs until Sunday at about 7:30, when the results played out the way they played out, where there's a good chance it's win or you're out. I
wouldn't say good.
Hmm?
I do want to tackle this. I wouldn't say good. I wouldn't say there's a good chance. A good chance is kind of saying that there's a better than than 50-50 chance, maybe even as much as a 75% chance. Let's to be realistic, these are like 2-3 point favorites.
I gotta look this up while you're talking.
And in reality, in the betting kingdom, right? You can still parlay these two teams, and you're going to have less than 1-to-1 odds, which ultimately means that there is a less than 50% chance that that we're not going to get the result we want.
Right,
Just saying.
I couldn't find the numbers in real time anyway. Sure, I mean, look, only one of those two teams have to lose in front of them. If both of them had to lose,
I had that shit early too, bro.
What?
You don't pay attention to me at all on a game day on Twitter. You actually don't engage very much at all. You strictly go you strictly go, point to point to point. You don't engage on past points very much. But I looked ahead at and knew the Tennessee piece pretty early at 4:00.
Yeah.
I had that before anybody else. I did.
I believe you.
I did. I knew that Jacksonville became in play, became in play before it went mainstream. Look, that's just the shit you get from me. All right. That's just the shit that my 38 loyal followers, all right, get on a weekly basis that the rest of you don't.
I hope you never get discovered and that you never have a bunch of followers. I kind of like it better that you have such a limited following of what you said, 6 non-bots.
I think you're in good shape.
Bob O'Brien said Bills can do everything the Ravens did to them. Of course, he's referring to what Baltimore did to Miami. And I agree with him.
None of that's wrong. None of it's wrong.
I
bro.
really like Josh Allen against Miami. I love Josh Allen against Miami. I really do. I don't really have anything else to say about this.
I was just thinking about the text I sent you yesterday when you were doing a solo show, and then I said I was going to press up to your set like Dennis Hopper. In Hoosiers. I really enjoyed that one, but I can't take much credit for it because the greatest use of that line ever was Bill Simmons when Darryl Strawberry's kid was fucking playing in the NCAA tournament. And I believe it was here in Buffalo. I think the kid played for Maryland, and Simmons referenced Strawberry coming out onto the court like Dennis Hopper in Hoosiers. And I'll never forget it, Boy, I'll tell you, man, Simmons fell off the grid for me. I mean, I know he's still out there, still doing his thing, but Simmons got stupid paid. Sure. And, I think he keeps his own schedule right now. But for a minute there, like Joe P loved his ass. When he was the Boston sports guy.
Yeah, I remember.
Simmons in Portnoy, man. Yeah. Interesting dudes, similar paths, both from Boston. I got to piss. Can we be out?
Yeah, we're about to be done here. By the way, I did lie. I said I had no New Year's resolutions. I do have one. I want to circle back to end this to our boy, Mike B. Pointed out, by the way, never on Facebook. He keeps his Facebook account.
Never got your ass on the double chin.
Ever on Facebook.
He's a creeper.
And I always on my.
He's a Facebook creeper.
He probably didn't. Now I'm thinking he probably has seen every video or every status I probably put up. No.
I'm with him enough to know that ain't it.
But yeah, man, I put up a video of Buster Imperial, and of all the comments he can make, he said something about me having a double chin, and I look at him like, fuck.
Actually, what is
looking rough? So my resolution is the stereotypical lose some weight, blah blah blah. I got to, man. On camera too much. Can't be looking like this now.
It's all right.
Anyway,
it's all right. I don't give a fuck. It wasn't as glaring to me. Mike just has a great way of fucking got a great eye for
looking at some negative
for ribbing on somebody. What he actually said was, though, attached to a 4-minute clip, was the only thing interesting in this clip is your double chin, which basically was fucking like double dog, basically saying that shit is boring and B, you look whack.
And I think we were talking about Von Miller in that clip too.
No, we were talking about, I think it was Big Nut Sean.
Oh, Big Nut Sean, that's right.
Big Nut Sean.
All right, we're gonna be done here. Let's get out of here. I want to thank everybody, whether you're watching this live on the video side, whether you're checking us out on audio, hopefully sometime on Tuesday. Appreciate you guys. I'll be back with a brand new episode tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.